You're listening to Living Full Out with Nancy Solari. A professional motivational speaker, Nancy can help you overcome obstacles and start living full out. Call in with questions live at 800-333-0001. Once again, that's 800-333-0001. And now, here's Nancy.
Hello and welcome back to the Living Full Out Show. I am Nancy Solari, and today we're talking about purpose, how we can bring purpose into our life, how we can identify it and really make it flourish. But how do you find that purpose? Sometimes it's not always recognizable, and sometimes the purpose for our life comes from other people. Sometimes it comes from experiences that we have. So I always say, be an open book. Be just ready for life to wash over you, because you never know when that purpose is going to come. And we can all get multiple purposes in our life. It's not just that we have one purpose. Sometimes we can have purpose at different stages in our life. But it's just recognizing that and being open. I see a lot of times when clients are fixated on, I must do something, I have to do something to feel a sense of accomplishment. But when they open up their arms, when they allow themselves to be free and open to what's possible, now they can let that purpose just come into their life in a natural way. Now, our inspirational guest today, Sarah Gray, is a perfect example of that. She actually had twins, and one of them went on and survived and is living a great life. The other one, unfortunately, passed away. But she didn't take his life and have it be for nothing. She made a purpose out of it in a big way. His life has gone on to be in many research studies and has really given back to others. And that is truly special. So I'd very much like to welcome Sarah to the show. Hello, Sarah.
Hi, Nancy. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. So, Sarah, could you do us a favor? Take our audience back a bit to when you were obviously pregnant with these twins, so excited with them coming into the world. You were in your first trimester, but share with us about the day that you got the news about the health of the twins.
Sure. Well, my husband and I went into the second sonogram, which is called the first trimester screening, and I think I was 12 weeks along, and they essentially look for some birth defects. I think the most common one is Down syndrome. And my husband and I were, we read up on it, and we felt reasonably prepared, and we knew that there was a chance that we could have a child with a birth defect. I was 35 at the time, so there's a higher risk when you're older. But, we were hoping for the best, and so we went in to do the sonogram, and the doctor said that even though the twins were identical, one of them was healthy, but one of them had a fatal birth defect called anencephaly. And he explained that means that the twins' skull was not formed correctly, and he only had half of a brain. Mm-hmm. And because of this birth defect, he would likely die shortly after being born, or maybe even before.
Well, and I know.
So it was.
And I know, Sarah, this is still fresh for you because it's only been 7 years? So it's still pretty.
It's been 7 years.
Pretty new. And I can only imagine, being given that news. It's just earth-shaking, really. How did you move forward in terms of the decisions that you had to make?
Well, the doctor explained to us that because the twins shared a placenta, that we couldn't do a selective termination on one of them. And he also explained, and then when we saw a specialist later on, they explained that we could do a selective termination, but and that maybe we should, or we might want to think about that, because the twin that had the fatal birth defect, if he died in utero, and the twins shared some blood vessels, that the death of the one twin would change the blood pressure of the other twin and could possibly threaten the life of the healthy twin. So it was very stressful.
So many decisions. What did you ultimately decide to do?
We ultimately decided to go for the selective termination in order to protect the life of our healthy twin. Essentially, we had one of our kids was threatening the life of one of our other kids. Mm-hmm. So it was really, really difficult to make this decision. Obviously, we loved both of them, and we wanted to give the one that was healthy the best chance of survival, since we knew that the other one really didn't have a chance. We went in for the selective termination, and we learned that my placenta had since moved positions and was now sort of covering the babies, and the doctor said that he didn't recommend the procedure anymore because if he even like accidentally nicked the placenta, I could like bleed uncontrollably, and all of us would die.
Wow.
So it was kind of a relief because we really didn't want to do that anyway. We just felt that we had to. So we went through the rest of the pregnancy just with the, it's kind of like a nail biter, just thinking like, we hope this turns out okay. Anything could happen.
Well, that's putting a lot of faith in just how it's going to roll out, how it's going to be. And on that day, what day were the twins born?
March 23rd, 2010.
Okay. And on that day, 2 were born. 2 came into the world. And what were their names?
Oh, yes. Thomas was born first. He's the one with anencephaly. And Callum was the second one. He was born a minute later.
I love it.
He's the healthy one.
I love it. And so we're going to have to go to a commercial break here in a second, Sarah. So I want to kind of come back to your story. But I want everybody to soak up just really what Sarah had to go through, all of these decisions, the fear and everything. And then finally this day comes and 2 babies were born. And so I want to take that moment to really acknowledge that, because her story goes on to be very special and purposeful and everything they promised. So Sarah, will you stay with us as we kind of go into the segment here? Coming back after the segment, we will be talking to Sarah and sharing her story a little bit further. One of the things, real quick, Sarah, that I want to ask you, as you can think about this coming back into the segment, is just understanding a little bit more about, your process, coming out, having these babies, how special that was. So again, we'll be coming right back after this break, and we'll be back.
Great.
Everything starts out small. The things that hurt us, they all start from somewhere. The words we say, the things we do, they can grow into something else. What was small and innocent can become big and sometimes scary. All it takes is one comment, one picture, one video for something to catch fire. But a big problem doesn't need a big response. Not at first. Even if we don't know what to say, the eye emoji can be that first step we take. Let's all pledge to take that first small step together and change the world in a big way. I'm a witness, and so are you.
Across America, excess food is gathered by a network of good people at local food banks, helping solve child hunger. They've earned their wings, and you can too. Support Feeding America and your local food bank at feedingamerica.org.
Thank you. You got a king?
Go fish!
The smallest moments can have the biggest impact on a child's life. Take time to be a dad today.
Hamilton was adopted from a rescue in 2008. He knows he's a pretty big deal. How could you not love him?
There's a shelter pet who wants to meet you. Meet one today. Visit theshelterpetproject.org. Adopt.
We just finished dinner and it was time for homework. He hates homework. I know he's bright.
Why is it so hard for me?
He's just gotta try a little harder.
1 in 5 children struggle with learning and attention issues. Go from misunderstanding to understood.org.
I'm Jenny Garth, and as a mother of 3, I know kids worry about a lot of things. Getting enough food to eat shouldn't be one of them. But here in America, that is a real worry for 1 in 5 children. This is unacceptable. and something Feeding America is working to solve. Through a nationwide network of food banks, Feeding America serves virtually every community in the United States, including yours. See how you can help your community. Visit feedingamerica.org. Together, we can solve hunger. Together, we're Feeding America.
Bento from a shelter, but a lot of people know him as Keyboard Cat.
Thank you for joining us today. I am Nancy Solari, and this is the Living Full Out Show. And today we're talking about purpose, and we're being joined by our inspirational guest today, Sarah Gray, who is sharing with us about her story of how she had two twins that were born. They're both born healthy, however, one unfortunately died 6 days later. And she's sharing with us about how she took her son's life, his name was Thomas, and made it full of purpose. And I'd like to bring Sarah back into the show. Hello, Sarah.
Hi, Nancy.
Hi. And you know what? I just can't help but saying Thomas's name because personally, when you share with our audience what you did in the memory of Thomas, it affects all of us. And that's why I want to keep giving him a lot of kudos because he's such a good man, good little man. So share with us our audience. So the day came when both of the twins were born. Now, I know you had your own set of complications amongst, Callum, he had some early birth complications as well. And then all of a sudden, Thomas, he's born alive. So share with us where everybody went and what happened.
Sure. So I went in for a C-section, and Thomas came out first, and then Callum came out a minute later. There was a chaplain in the room that we had requested to say a blessing over Thomas because we didn't think he was going to make it very long. So the chaplain was holding Thomas and saying some prayers, and my husband was there too, Ross. And then when Callum was born, he was having problems breathing. And they were, slapping his feet and giving him oxygen, and then they ended up rushing him to the NICU because they were concerned that he wasn't able to breathe and he, may have brain damage. And at the same time, I had lost half my blood volume and was getting a transfusion. And I want to give a shout out to the 12 people who donated blood that I received. There are 12 strangers out there who gave their blood to me, and they saved my life.
We're doing a lot of shout outs today. You feel free. Keep doing it. Yep. Keep going.
Anyone who's ever given blood, I just thank you so much.
Absolutely. So go ahead. Continue on.
Oh, no. So I went to the recovery room, and that's when my husband showed up, and he was holding a little bundle. And I just assumed it was Callum because I thought Thomas would have died by then. Mm-hmm. And I said, "Who is that?" And he said, "It's Thomas." And I said, "Oh, he's still alive. Let me hold him." And so I just felt like a bonus. I was like, wow, every minute we got with him, I just thought this is more than I expected. And I was grateful to have any extra minutes that we had. So I was able to breastfeed him. Yeah, and he just acted like a normal baby.
See, I love that. And honestly, I think that was, just the way it was supposed to go, that, he was supposed to have those few days with you. Now, he did pass 6 days later, right? And that's really where this second half of the journey began. But now, you decided to donate certain organs of his, but you started that process way back when you were pregnant with the twins, before they were ever born. What was kind of the process between when you were starting to think about it, before the twins were born, to executing that plan after he had passed?
Sure. Well, it started out as just a thought, and I contacted my local organ procurement organization. So wherever you live in the United States, there is an organ procurement organization designated to you, and in other countries. I believe that other countries have these as well. But I contacted mine. It's called Washington Regional Transplant Community here in Washington, D.C., and they explained that that my son would probably be too small at birth to donate his organs for transplant because they have to match the donor and the recipient, the size of the organs. And they said, he's probably going to be born early. He's a twin. He's probably only going to be like 4 or 5 pounds when he's born. There's just not a demand and there's no match for these kind of organs. Mm-hmm. And I said, can we donate to anything else? Is there, do people want to study the disease he has, or can we donate to any kind of research? And they looked into it, and they basically have a database where researchers will log in and register the kind of tissue that they need to study. And, they might need diseased tissue. They might need healthy tissue to compare against it. They need different sizes, different genders, different diseases. And so WRTC told me that they had to wait until after my son died. And then once he died, they would be able to see what condition the organs and everything was in. And that at that point, they would be able to match his organs and tissues with researchers who might need them. So I signed all the consent forms.
Early on, okay. And after
we did everything in advance.
Right. And after he passed, what did you find out that they were able to donate?
He was able to donate his cornea, that's the front of the eye, the retina, that's the back of the eye, his liver, and his cord blood. So 4 things.
That is awesome. That's amazing. And the interesting thing is, everybody listening, is you were able to have even an open casket funeral afterwards. They were able to take what they needed in terms of those donations and that next journey, but then you were able to bring him back and see him one more time.
Yeah, I had no experience in this area before, and I was really curious, and it happened so fast, I almost was like, did that really happen? Because he looks exactly the same. I mean, they had dressed him, he had a little, onesie on, so I didn't, unzip it to look for stitches or whatever, but I've since learned that when they do an organ recovery, you can do an open casket funeral, and I know that that's really important for a lot of families. Some people really feel like they need to see their loved one last time or to be able to accept the death. But it's just like any other kind of surgery. You get stitches, and I thought he looked great. I was surprised that they had done anything.
That's so beautiful. That's just just neat that again you had that moment when he was alive, those extra days together, and now you got to see him one more time, and then after some time had passed, you decided, gosh, I'd really like to know what happened, where did his donations go, and how did that research turn out? So how did you start that new path?
Well, again, I was new to this, and I just thought that whatever researchers have registered for the tissue and wanted it, I thought, I bet they're really experienced. They probably have PhDs or doctorates, and they are probably, if you ask them what they do for a living, they would probably talk your ear off. So I asked WRTC, I said, when a year was up, I said, can you give us an update? What has happened with the tissue? Did the researcher tell you anything? Have they used the tissue? Are they studying it? Or is it just still sitting on the shelf? And WRTC, they just didn't know. They said, all we know is that it's been received, and we don't really hear back from researchers. So I just thought, okay, well, I tried. I did my best, and I learned that his corneas went to Harvard. So I felt kind of proud that, my son got into Harvard, and his retinas went to Penn, and my grandfather went to Penn. So I just I felt a connection with these facilities.
Sure.
That was nice.
But
then it was a year later. Sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
A year later, I went to Boston on a business trip. And I had remembered that, Harvard's in Boston, and my son's corneas are in Boston. And I thought, and I Googled it, and I looked up how far away the eye research lab was from the Heinz Convention Center, where I was at, working at a conference. And it was not very far away. And I thought, what if I just called the front desk? Could I ask them for a tour? Because you think, just as a member of the public or, someone who donates a financial donation, I would get invited to a tour or get put on their mailing list or whatever. And I thought, I wonder, are they going to want to keep me out because my family donated corneas, or would they welcome me?
I can see wondering that.
But,
yep.
I was nervous, but I thought I'll give it a try because I may never have this chance again. I'm not in Boston very often. So I called the front desk, and the receptionist said that she had never had a call like that before. But she said, don't hang up. I'm going to find someone to help you. And she did. And I was able to set up a tour for the next day.
Great. And so what did you learn on that tour about Thomas?
It was incredible. So I was able to meet the researcher who requests the corneas and receives them. I asked him, and I was so moved by meeting him because I thought, this is the person that's behind my son's donation. And he said, thank you for the donation. Do you have any questions for me? And I said, yes. How many corneas do you request in a year? Is it 1 or 2, or is it 100, or how valuable was my son's donation? And he said, we request about 10 pairs a year. We would request more if we could, but they're hard to get. And infant corneas are even more valuable. They're like gold to us. And I was so moved by that, and I said, why? And he said, because they're regenerative properties. You know, infant cells regenerate more than adult cells. Mm-hmm. And most of the corneas that he receives are from older people, just because naturally most of us are older when we die. Mm-hmm. So when they get the infant cells, he said they regenerate for a long time, and they can study them on more than one experiment.
So the interest. Well, so I was going to say, because we're kind of closing up here the interview a little bit, so I want to kind of speed ahead just a bit. So the great thing is you got to, talk to that researcher, that doctor in Boston, and you got to go to all the other facilities as well, and just kind of really feel more connected to all of these institutions that, Thomas's donations went to. And I know you went on to write a book, and what was the name of that book?
It's called A Life Everlasting, The Extraordinary Story of One Boy's Gift to Medical Science.
And see, I love that. And when we consider our topic today being purpose, obviously you still have Callum today, and he's growing and thriving. Thomas went to the Ivy League schools in a different way with his donations. How has your life become more purposeful, giving birth to those two twins with those two very different experiences?
When it comes to purpose, I guess it's opened me up to purposes that I didn't know were there. And it's made me feel like I don't just have one purpose, but there's a variety, and it changes as I grow. Mm-hmm. And it added a few layers of meaning to Thomas's life. I mean, he would have had meaning no matter what happened donation-wise. But it allowed us to connect with some really wonderful, kind researchers that we would have never met any other way.
Absolutely. And if people are listening today, and when they're taking in your story, what's one word of advice or one phrase of advice that you would tell them in finding their purpose?
Finding their purpose. I don't know. That's a tricky one. Can I do a different one? No.
But that's okay. That's okay. You. That's your homework assignment to think about. But I want to thank you so much, Sarah, for being on our show today, because you are a gift to our world, honestly. And thank you for Thomas and Callum and all the contributions they make. And everybody, I want to thank Sarah for being on the show. So thank you very much. And when we come back, we're going to be taking your calls again. This is the Living Full Out Show. I am Nancy Solari, and we will be right back.
Drop that baby.
You've messed up your son's haircut. Do you try to fix it? Work with what you've got? Or show solidarity?
Thank you, babe.
You don't have to be perfect to be a perfect parent. Thousands of teens in foster care will love you just the same.
Your daughter is having trouble learning French. Do you A, hire a tutor?
Bonjour.
B, enforce a French-only rule at home? Or C, watch some foreign films? When it comes to parenting, there are no perfect answers, but that's okay, because you don't have to be perfect to be a perfect parent. Teens in foster care will love you just the same.
When they test you, stand firm and move only when you hear the seatbelt click that says they're buckled in for the drive. Never give up till they buckle up.
Hey Gabby, how you doing? How's the play date and sleepover?
Dad, it was great.
Awesome. Okay, I'm on my way. Hey guys, what are you doing?
We're going swimming! We're going biking! Yeah!
I'll see you in a little bit, guys. I love you.
Hi, babe. How was school today?
Hi, Dad. It was great.
Okay, honey. I'll be home soon. Remember, you're never too far away from your kids to be a dad. Reach out and take a second to check in, because sometimes the smallest moments can have the biggest impact on a child's life.
Connor is struggling in school.
Finding lowest airfare to Istanbul.
Why don't you understand me?
I do. This is what it feels like for kids with learning and attention issues. Redirecting to understood.org.
They said I have troll teeth.
That my voice sounded like a possessed baby doll.
That no one would ever love someone as stupid as me.
That I was fat, ugly.
Disgusting.
The effect of bullying is potent.
We will no longer be the silent majority.
Now, when you see online bullying, there's something you can do about it.
We're gonna take action with the I.
I am a witness.
I am a witness.
I am a witness.
I am a witness.
I am a witness, and so are you.
I want to eat apples and bananas. I need to eat apples and bananas. Why can't I eat apples and bananas?
Support the Feeding America nationwide network of food banks to help provide meals to those in need. Join us at feedingamerica.org.
I'll never forget the day our landlord called and said, "Read your lease. No pets allowed." My owner tells him my dog ate the lease, but that didn't work. And now I'm stuck in a shelter. But this pit bull is ready for a new crib. I'm loving, loyal, and play well with others. So don't be intimidated by all my muscles, because the biggest one I have is my heart. That's right, I said it.
There's a shelter pet who wants to meet you. Meet one today. Visit theshelterpetproject.org. Adopt.
When you're in touch with your purpose, you're able to live full out in a big way. You're able to hone in on where your passions are, how you can take those passions and translate them into doing good things for yourself, for others, and making a big impact. And when you're doing that, now you're building a legacy. We all have the ability to live a life of purpose in our journey to live full out.
You're listening to Living Full Out with Nancy Solari. As a certified life coach, Nancy can help you to overcome challenges and start living full out. Call in with questions live at 800-333-0001. Once again, that's 800-333-0001. And now, here's Nancy.
Well, here we are, final segment of the show, and I don't know about you all, but I am feeling like I want to go out there and just do something great today. I don't know what that is, but I'm going to do something. I want to make an impact in somebody's life, and I want to also take my life up a notch, and I'm hoping that you all have that same feeling. But sometimes it's great to have that idea, but sometimes the idea with the passion to execute that idea doesn't always come together. And so sometimes energetically, we struggle with, I don't know my purpose. I have no idea. And I'm just, it's too much energy to even try. I urge you to not give up. Because whether you are staying home today and vegging out, watching TV, whether you have a full packed day with the kids and work and other commitments you've made, or somewhere in between, you have the ability every day to do something purposeful. It doesn't mean that you start an organization. It doesn't mean that you're building a family. It doesn't mean that you're getting a new career. Purpose doesn't have to always be big. It can just be reaching out to one person and making a difference in their lives. And that's what I want you to think about as we close out the show today. Now, I'm getting word from our producer that we have another caller on the line, so we're going to go say hello to them. Hello, welcome to the Living Full Out Show.
Hello.
Hi, thank you for calling in. How can we help you today?
Well, I was trying to figure out maybe some coping tips or something, some kind of recommendation. I'm dealing with a lot of anxiety because I have a health disorder that requires me to be on, prescription contraceptives.
And, you know, just with the political atmosphere and stuff going on, I was just wondering if you have any kind of tips to kind of deal with that anxiety of worrying about possibly like losing medication. You know, I know politically and stuff like that, not a lot of people can help, but I was wondering if you had any kind of stress tips or anything like that.
Well, thank you for calling in, first of all, because the thing is that's what this show is for. But secondly, have you considered or are you a part of any support groups of other people dealing with your same health challenge?
I am not currently.
Okay, that is step number one. Now, I don't tell you to do that because I think you have all this extra time in your schedule to be going to a bunch of different support groups. And support groups are not even where you sit down and everybody confesses and cries. I think a lot of times people think support groups are heavy. It's not like that. When you're a part of a support group, when you're a part of an organization that specializes in the condition that you're dealing with, they all have the same concerns that you have. Now you're not out there on your own trying to crack the code. You're not out there on your own dealing with the same anxieties that others have. Now there are going to be times when, and everybody listening today, that we have rare conditions where there aren't support groups. Well, then you want to find next to kin on that. You know, what is the largest organization that would be most closely relatable to your health condition? Now I'm not going to ask what your health condition is because I want to keep that personal to you. But I urge you to research here over the next couple of days, you know, what your condition is called, all the organizations that deal with that, and then maybe even do another search of support groups along with the name of your condition, and then be able to find other like-minded people that are dealing with what you are. The other thing, too, is depending on where you are in terms of, you know, time, is to get out there and let your voice be heard. Sometimes it takes the person dealing with a condition, dealing with the aftermath of what could be. You're the voice for so many. So when we think of that support group, some people are going to be listeners. Some people are going to be contributors. They're going to contribute to a conversation. And then there's leaders. And those are the people that put their foot down and say, this is what we need. Somebody help us get what we need. Do you think you're going to be that leader, contributor, or listener?
I think I could be the leader.
I think you could be the leader. And we're talking about purpose today. So look at the purpose that your condition has given you. Nothing in our life happens by accident. It's not great. Trust me, I'm blind and I don't love it every day. But even that has given me my purpose, right? So in some ways, you were given this gift of this condition, so that you can go on to make a difference to help others. How does that sound?
Sounds pretty awesome.
I see a legacy being built as we talk. And it's your legacy. So go out there, just start, don't make it all happen at one time. It just starts with the initial research. And then you call somebody, you meet with somebody, you go to a group, you tread the waters. And as you're ready to take on more, you take on more. Okay?
Okay, thank you.
You got it. Have a great day. And I want to thank everybody listening today. It's all about tapping into that purpose. We all have it. And if you need support on that, reach out to us at connect@livingfullout.com. We are here to support you in any way we can. I want to thank the entire Living Full Out team. We have Rich and Elizabeth and Riley and everybody that puts the show on. And most of all, I want to thank you for listening. I wish everybody a great day. Here's to you living your life full out.